Hey there, Patriots. JT Serenity Farms prepping here. So, I was watching a video from Angry Prepper yesterday. I'm subscribed to his channel. I've learned a lot from that channel, and I like his attitude on most things. But in a video from a couple days ago, he got into the Russia-Ukraine thing and basically said that anyone who believed Russia wasn't the bad guys in this was a butthole and to unsubscribe and get off his channel. Now, I started watching his channel because I often will go out and seek different opinions, and that's how I glean information to make educated decisions. And I thought that the Angry Prepper channel was one of those channels where a difference of opinion, thought, ideas was welcomed and promoted, but apparently it's not in this particular instance, and I'm not sure why. All I can assume is that when people don't do as much research as they should on a given topic, or they have a closed mind on something and they've already made up their minds before there is any research to be done, everybody's done it with something. Just rubbed me the wrong way, the way he was classifying those of us who don't believe, based on our own research, thoughts and opinions, that Russia was the bad guy. So this is kind of a response, rebuttal, difference of opinion video. Just that. I'm not unsubscribing from his channel. I've gleaned a lot from it, and anyone who lives in New York City or a big city should check out his channel because there's a lot of good information for that particular prepper set that you need to learn. So I just had to vent that before I made my video showing much more evidence of more Democrat, deep state, fake news, misinformation about Russia that helped me develop my thoughts, opinions, and ideas on this topic. Enjoy the video.
Most pressing concerns now is the humanitarian situation in Ukraine. The fighting there has severely disrupted supply chains and people are finding it difficult to find food. So here in Crimea, efforts are being made to supply people who desperately need that food with various canned foods as well as sugar, salt, buckwheat, the essentials to see them through the worst of the fighting. In all, more than 100 tons of desperately needed food, the delivery of which has fallen on Russia's emergency services. At stake are not only people's lives, but the goodwill of the population. The city of Melitopol, population 100,000. It was liberated by Russian troops largely without a fight. It is deemed somewhat safe and is the first destination for these humanitarian aid trucks out of Crimea. Russia's mission here is to liberate, not occupy, as stated by Putin himself. Within hours of delivery, thousands across the city headed for distribution points.
Go to the stores, look around the city, and you'll understand why we're here.
There are difficulties getting hold of products, medicines, and there are long queues everywhere.
Citizens are very happy. Peaceful people are happy.
As we spoke to more and more...
So before I continue, for those that are listening in, since we're going to be starting, there's 5 different podcasts that are being worked on now from different types of podcasts, so it'll be audio soon. Also, this is coming from RT Breaking News. They have been stopped from going out on Twitter and Facebook and other social media platforms from getting any information out from them from their perspective. So this could be why, because they're sharing exactly what's going on in their perspective.
People, our understanding of what happened here over the last 8 years grew clearer. A violent ideological purge, a reign of terror by the nationalists and neo-Nazis, where any ideology but theirs, any positive opinion of Russia, was brutally suppressed. Murders, kidnappings, beatings, and threats abounded. While there wasn't all that much fighting here in Melitopol, that isn't to say there wasn't any. This Ukrainian T-64 reportedly tank was destroyed when it was caught by Russian units entering the city. It, along with a truck and apparently an armored personnel carrier, which were evidently blasted apart. The battle for Melitopol was brief and tame in comparison to other cities. The military's job here is done. The next phase isn't up to troops. It is prosecutors and investigators working to identify and arrest nationalists and neo-Nazis still in the city, those complicit in horrific crimes not only in the Donbass, but all over Ukraine. And as they work, we will learn the true scale of radical right-wing terror that gripped Ukraine for years.
Hey there, everybody. JT, Serenity Farms Prepping here, trying to bring you the side of the story you're never going to hear from almost every channel I watch on YouTube. On Rumble is doing a pretty good job. But the misinformation campaign, aka lying by the fake news media, the Democrats, many of the masses with the M in parentheses, and all those people with their blue and yellow Facebook flags, they are getting one side of the story. They've been told their entire lives, Russia, 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 bad, bad, bad. So they believe it. They were told pandemic, pandemic, pandemic. You'll die, you'll die, you'll die. They believe it. They were told these work. They were told these are perfectly fine. They're swallowing it. Why? Are they hearing what they want to hear? Are they afraid to go against conventional narrative for fear of being called heartless or a Russian agent or an asshole? I can't get inside their heads, but it is mass formation psychosis at work. It's just easier to go along to get along, isn't it? Well, sorry, that's not my style. I investigate both sides of everything. You would think all these people with prepper channels would be out there doing the same thing. I thought that's one of the reasons that they were prepping, is because they didn't take anything that was being spewed out there until they had researched it, done their homework, and made a conscious, educated decision on their own. With all that being said, we can do as much research as we can, and at some point can change our minds or modify our decision and our thinking. At no point have I said I thought Putin was God's gift to humanity. I also don't know. I cannot say he's evil. I cannot say he's good. I don't know what he's done in the past. Right now, that's really irrelevant, isn't it? From all I've seen, what he's doing now will benefit Russia. He's protecting his country from everything evil that seemingly all the politicians and most of the idiots in this country are more than willing to allow to happen to our culture, our economics, our society. yada yada. All right, I have more video coming up that pushes my stance on this entire thing.
Ukraine. Didn't realize this till Q the Storm Writer posted it. I advise you all to watch the film Ukraine on Fire by Oliver Stone. In the film, you'll hear officials and CIA and others all planning the Ukraine coup and taking over their government. Lots of insight into what's happening now. I'm going to play that trailer for that in a moment. The other film on the left, Winter on Fire, is propaganda film through deep state funding and Netflix. We all know Netflix is cabal controlled. How do we know that? We know that Obama sits on the staff there. We know that folks that worked for his demonic administration went over there immediately, and they've been doing nothing but propaganda films. That's why I wish we had something similar to Netflix for truthers to put out great content and stuff like this. And it kind of reminded me of when I heard Oliver Stone when President Trump said stone cold killer. It just kind of, I just play on words and I say cold, referring to Putin, stone cold killer, but cold would be stone cold. This gives out the information from Stone, right? The White Hats D-class film, The Truth in Ukraine. So I found that, I believe it was on Apple TV when I went to research to make sure I could find it, but that website, Ukraine
Trader, that's Newland. She's still deeply involved.
So here's the trailer for
more clashes in Ukraine's capital, Kiev.
What we saw here today was a revolution.
I'm an outsider to this situation, but I would like to jump into the action.
In recent days, Kiev has turned into a full-scale war zone.
События, которые проходили в тот период. Сначала акции проходили мирно, замечены нами радикалы, которые относились к правым партиям, неофашистским организациям.
В том, чтобы посеять хаос.
Создавалось такое впечатление, что в посольстве Соединенных Штатов существует штаб, который управляет этим процессом.
Who was your highest level of contact with the U.S. government in this period?
Байденом, вице-президентом. Но дело в том, что господин Байден говорил одно, а в Украине делали другое.
Questions of credibility are being raised after a private chat between two top U.S. diplomats was leaked online.
So you had this remarkable phone call where you have these two senior officials of the U.S. government apparently talking about a coup or how they were planning to restructure the government of Ukraine.
Сценарий захвата власти и государственного переворота.
We saw in the 1980s, the Central Intelligence Agency had been largely discredited because of scandals that had been exposed in the 1970s. They still want to get rid of certain governments. They wanted a regime change in Syria, for instance, regime change in Iran. And they have a lot of allies now inside the news media, inside the government, and that means that they can do a lot to control the narrative. And it works with the American people.
NATO has expanded into 13 countries.
Почему мы так остро реагируем на расширение НАТО? Когда страна становится членом НАТО, ей уже очень трудно сопротивляться давлению со стороны такой крупной страны, лидера НАТО, как США. И там легко может появиться все, что угодно. Система противоракетной обороны, и новые базы, и если потребуются, и новые ударные комплексы. А нам что делать?
The United States is imposing new sanctions in key sectors of the Russian economy.
After the third wave of sanctions hit Russia, the tensions between the two countries skyrocketed. So the question presents itself. Are we truly witnessing the beginning of Cold War 2.0?
So very interesting, right, to have a trailer like this out, a movie out, put together like this. And I find it one of those things that I can't believe they put stuff like that out and they let it actually play. Russia claimed Azov battalion was holding civilians as human shields in Mariupol despite humanitarian corridors. And you can see the footage appears to corroborate the accusation, right? This desperate woman is told that no evacuation is permitted, and she's in tears.
Look at all these virtue signaling companies. Do they really hurt Russia by leaving the Russian market? Or do they hurt all the Americans who work here and then ship all that stuff over there? Now, many of these companies, like Visa and PayPal and Netflix and Amazon and Boeing and Coca-Cola, many of these companies are already quite evil, quite demonic, quite against American free enterprise, free speech. So these companies leaving Russia, they're virtue signaling. They are not going to hurt Russia. They drove Russia, financially anyway, right into the arms of China, who's being supplied by all the money that the same idiots who frequent these companies and have their blue and yellow flags all over the place are supporting every time they buy something at China Mart or basically anywhere. So in case you're still on the fence about what's really going on, Rothschild, the heir. Ukraine is an essential piece that we cannot afford to lose in the geopolitical chessboard. We must bring Russia to its knees through any means possible to send a strong signal to the Chinese and protect our global system of norms and liberal values. In effect, our current path or lack of military action means our global order is dead on its feet. I urge you to deploy more force against Russia and its proxies. Step up the information warfare to correct opinion, especially online, and send weaponry to our friends in the Ukraine. If we allow Vlad Putin to seize Ukraine, it will send a signal to our enemies, especially Iran, China, and Kim Jong-un, that we will do nothing when faced with an onslaught of force.
TikTok. So, this is another video that you see scrolling around through Instagram. And listen, I don't know. That's why I'm researching. I don't trust Reuters to fact check. So, I'm a smart fella. You have Google Earth. You have the internet at your capability. So, in this video, you see the bombing of these buildings in the background. Well, I see this building right here called Diamond City. Let's see if we can find it on Google Maps. Well, what do you know? There's Diamond City right there. Okay? Let me show you a close-up. Okay, here is a close-up of that building, Diamond City. These buildings in the back, that's where you see the bombing, okay? Take a look at the surroundings. You've got this little square building right there. You've got this little bus station, this street, and this area here, okay? Now, Google Maps, address matches. You got that little square. You've got that little bus stop. You got the green area. According to Google Earth, this is that building, and it is situated in the direction of those buildings that way. Let's see what is that way. Okay, so directional that way of the bombings is, guess what? Institute of, or Laboratory of Research. What kind of research do you ask? Well, bioweapons. But don't worry, the experts say that it was a cluster bomb, right? It was that building, cluster bomb, right? The experts. Let's see who the experts are. I'll let you read right here. But let's see. The experts are from the New York-based Human Rights Watch. I've heard of that before. I think I know who funds that. Would you look at there? George.
French journalist has been criticized for claiming locals in the Donbass region are being targeted by the Ukrainian government. Anne-Laura Bonnell has been filming in the war-torn eastern Ukraine area since 2015 and spoke about her experience on air in France.
There are dead and wounded. I film them every day. I take photos every day to save as proof. I do not have any political message to express, but just so you know, this conflict has been widely discussed for a week, but it has lasted already 8 years and caused the deaths of 13,000 people. People are devastated. All of them are Ukrainians, and they're extremely surprised that Europe is now aware of the situation. All of this shelling, hiding and living in basements, heavy artillery everywhere. I was filming this back in 2015, but I repeat, this has been going on since 2014.
Sorry to interrupt. Not all of us know about the situation as much as you do, since you've been following it for so many years. Something you said surprised me. You said that all of those people are Ukrainians, and the shelling is also conducted by Ukrainians?
Definitely.
Do your own research. That's all I can tell you. Like, share, subscribe, comment, notification bell. But for now, JT, signing off.